Happening now on Grid Tonight. Sports car racer Colin Braun tested an IndyCar at Sebring. Will his results be good enough for him to get the call to make his IndyCar debut? On the other hand, World Rally Championship is planning to drop hybrid technology from the Rally 1 cars. Is this a smart move, and what does it mean for WRC's future? Hello to all of viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lambert, and with me is Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index. We encourage everyone to comment in the chat, ask questions, and support us through Super Chat. Grid Network just passed 940 subscribers. Please subscribe today and help us reach the special milestone of 1,000 subscribers ASAP. Now here's Matt with our top story this evening.
Thank you, Kobe. Yeah, we were celebrating the fact on the show last week that we got to 900 and we're almost at 950 1 week on. So thank you to everybody who has recently subscribed. And if you haven't, make sure you tell your friends. Before we get into the top story, as you can probably hear, struggling a little bit for voice this evening, but I'll try my best to get through the show as well as possible. And we'll start with tonight's top story, which comes from the NTT IndyCar Series, which has just completed 2 days of pre-season testing at Sebring International Raceway. Andretti Global's Marcus Ericsson set the fastest time in the combined sessions, followed by Will Power, Pato O'Ward, Felix Rosenquist, and Graham Rahal. As the teams and drivers make their final preparations for next weekend's season-opening Firestone Grand Prix at St. Petersburg, one driver who participated in testing had lots of eyes on him. Although he was 26th of the 27 cars in the timesheets, people were very impressed with sports car ace Colin Braun. For years, lots of people have been saying that someone needs to give Braun an opportunity to drive at the IndyCar level, and now that has finally happened thanks to Dale Coyne Racing. In typical Dale Coyne fashion, the season is almost a week away, and the driver lineup is currently TBA. No, not Taylor Barnard. That's TBA that always seems to pop up on every entry list. Jack Harvey tested the number 18 Honda, while Braun, as you can see on screen, was in the number 51 car. Despite the lack of experience in open wheel racing, Braun got up to speed quickly and ran 98 laps over the day and improved throughout. Photo taken by Joe Skibinski from Penske Entertainment. After all these years, Kobe, how rewarding is it to see Colin Braun finally get his IndyCar shot?
Oh, it's very exciting to see Colin Braun driving an IndyCar. And yeah, I know he was 26 out of 27 cars, as you mentioned, Matt. But the thing is, he got better throughout the day. And I have a feeling if Colin Braun got some more laps in IndyCar, he'd continue to get better and at least, gain a few slots on the track. And I think if he's able to return and drive an IndyCar even more, we'll see Colin Braun make further improvements because he's a fast learner. He has that raw speed, and I'm really happy that Dale Coyne was convinced to give Colin Braun this chance. It would have been interesting to see what would have happened if he would have gotten a call, to try IndyCar, quite a handful of years ago when he was, quite a bit younger. But better late than never, right? Yeah. So Colin Braun coming in here, and not being too far off the pace. I think that it's a huge success for him, and I'm really excited to see where this goes from him. And like you mentioned, typical Dale Coyne fashion, TBA, the season is almost a week away, and we still don't know who's going to be driving the Dale Coyne racing Hondas. But based on what we saw in testing, I really hope that Dale Coyne will give Colin Braun the opportunity to drive this car, because I think if he's able to make his IndyCar debut on the streets of St. Pete, sometimes St. Pete can get really crazy. If he's able to run a smart race, keep the car clean, could get a respectable finish, and maybe we could see him run more races after that if he gets a call for St. Pete. So we're just waiting and seeing what Dale Coyne Racing is going to do. But I think that this was a fantastic opportunity for Colin Braun. I know we saw Ricky Taylor drive a Penske IndyCar quite a handful of years ago, but it never materialized into a race seat. I'm sure Colin Braun hoped that his story will end a little bit differently.
Yeah, he's been around a long time, hasn't he? He was kind of trying to get his way into the Cup Series 8 to 10 years ago, and did plenty of races in the NASCAR world, but then pivoted to sports cars. And it's great to see someone of his experience finally getting a go at the IndyCar level. Be interesting to see what happens with the driver lineup, with Jack Harvey kind of in the mix as well, potentially there. We know Dale Coyne has run some Brits over the years, like Conway, Justin Wilson spring to mind from years gone by. So we hope for the British fans that Jack Harvey can be on the grid. More on Brits in the IndyCar paddock later when we get to the news section. But yeah, good to see Colin Braun getting this opportunity. It does remain to be seen whether or not Dale Coyne will run Braun though in the IndyCar season, but it's not easy for a 35-year-old with limited open wheel experience to start a career in the series, as you said, Kobe. Typically, you'll see drivers with experience of Indy Next, Formula E, F1, or Super Formula make the move to IndyCar, but you rarely see sports car drivers making the jump. Ironically, Braun's teammate from the last couple of years in the IMSA paddock, Tom Blomqvist, has switched to the IndyCar series full-time this year with Meyer Shank Racing. Blomqvist has been one of the standout drivers in the GTP category over the last couple of years while sharing a car with Braun, and Braun at times was very much the match for Blomqvist. So far in 2024, Braun has been driving with the CrowdStrike APR team, in LMP2 at Daytona in the Rolex 24 and winning the Asian Le Mans Series Championship a couple of weeks ago alongside co-drivers George Kurtz and Peugeot Jr. Malfi Jakobsen. Instead of focusing heavily on open wheel racing series, could Blomqvist and Braun start a trend of IndyCar teams taking a closer look into the world of prototype drivers?
I'm glad you brought up that point, Matt, because Colin Braun's already has a busy schedule this year. Running in LMP2 and IMSA, and then that fantastic run in the Asian Le Mans Series with CrowdStrike as well, and then. And it would not surprise me to see him and George Kurtz returns, to GT World Challenge America as well. So, Colin Braun's, racing schedule, is probably going to be quite busy. But I'm sure, with all the gaps and stuff in the sports car racing schedule, it could be easy, to fit in, a few IndyCar races here and there if he's willing to plug it into a schedule. But yeah, it's very interesting. That Colin Braun, someone who hasn't driven in an open wheel racing series, is getting an opportunity like this. I know Tom Blomqvist, he was in Formula E. He has that open wheel racing experience in the past, that Colin Braun does not have. But I really think, that this could start a trend of IndyCar teams looking at drivers in prototypes. I know a lot of the times when you see drivers go to prototypes, a lot of those drivers do have experience in open wheel racing, but once the path dries up, then they typically just spend the rest of their career in sports cars and make a nice home there. And typically, you think once the driver goes into prototypes with that, that open wheel racing is not going to be a thing. But as we've seen, with Tom Blomqvist, yes, there could be a door for you to get back in the top, especially with Indy cars going to hybrid technology, whether it's in the second half of this year after the Indy 500 or next year or whenever. And we're going to talk a little bit about hybrid technology in our next segment, but when you're driving those GTP cars, they have hybrid technology, and with Indy cars planning to go to hybrids, that knowledge could be, really, really helpful and ease the transition over in Indy cars as we get into the next generation of engine formula. But I'm really excited to see, where this goes for Colin Braun.
Another man that's doing sports cars and IndyCar this year will be Romain Grosjean, of course, because he's in the Lamborghini stable for WEC, and of course is back in the IndyCar paddock with Juncos as well. Very much looking forward to that St. Pete opener next weekend. Always a great kickoff to the season in IndyCar, and if Braun can be on the grid, then that's a great thing. As you say, he's got a pretty busy schedule already. Even if he could do half the races, potentially, depending on clashes and things, then that would be a great thing to see, and see if he gets the seat, how well he will go throughout. Let's move on to our second story of tonight's show, and news broke this afternoon that the World Rally Championship is moving away from hybrid technology in its top class Rally 1 starting from next season. Instead, you'll see a modified and cost-effective version of the Rally 1 car in 2025. According to the FIA, Rally 1 will run without control hybrid, a reduction in aerodynamic and turbo restriction to bring down the costs. You can read the full story on motorsport.com. Link is in the video description below, and the photo courtesy of Toyota Gazoo WRT. Kobe, are you surprised that this pivot has happened? WRC abandoning hybrid technology after 3 years running with it.
Yeah, it's really weird. I remember when they made the announcement that they were moving to hybrid technology, and I was really thinking, that this is going to be the future of WRC, for the next handful of years or so. But I didn't think, that this handful of years would be, just 3 years and then we're done. But with the cost, getting really high competing, in the top category of WRC, sometimes, series has to make hard decisions and think about the health and the survival of the racing series, and it seems like that they thought that this was the best option for the Rally One cars moving forward, which is to drop hybrid technology. I remember in the last decade, in the World Endurance Championship prototypes, the LMP1s were running the hybrid cars, and everyone was thinking they say hybrid is the future of motorsports and all this hybrid technology. And World Rally Championship finally got around to it, and we really thought that this was going to be something that was going to stick around. But now that they're going to be removing the hybrids, and it's going to be interesting to see what type of technology we're going to see moving forward once the new regulations come in. But yeah, it's quite a bit surprising they decided to move away from it. But at the same time, I understand why they would make a decision like this, especially if it's going to raise costs and see less entries. Maybe if they can lower the cost, we'll see more manufacturers come in, see more entries, and see more competition across the board.
That's the key, is to try and get some more entries in. It's been the three we've got now, Toyota, Hyundai and Ford as a part manufacturer team with the M Sport Run squad for the last few years. Citroen came in, went away, came back again. We haven't had anyone new apart from Volkswagen, who of course pulled out within the whole Dieselgate thing, getting on for 10 years ago now. Anyone new come in, and with the big costs of these cars, it's no surprise. I think this is a good move for the series. Maybe for the green initiative, people looking at this news will go, "Oh, hang on a minute, this isn't what we expected." But I kind of think you look at the automotive world. I think the hybrid car sort of sales and trajectory might be kind of going away a little bit. We're going more towards that full electric kind of deal rather than it being a petrol and or diesel hybrid. I'm waiting for my new Volkswagen to arrive. It won't be a hybrid. It's a full petrol, and Volkswagen don't do any hybrids at all. It is full electric or full ICE. So maybe hybrids had its day potentially. There's a bit of a stopgap before we go full electric, which the World Rallycross Championship has done for the last few seasons, and that has absolutely bombed after being one of the best things on television for the few years before it. The World Rallycross Championship has just sunk like a stone, so hopefully that doesn't happen to the WRC. But we need more entries, and as we saw on Rally Sweden a couple of weeks ago, we had a Rally 2 car on the podium at the end of the first day. Okay, we had a couple of people drop out, but the depth of the field is not there. And it's not giving a lot of young guys in the WRC2 category or Rally 2 chances to run up at the front with the big teams. We've talked about Formula One at great length, that there's not enough seats at the top table. WRC has got a similar problem, and hopefully this change in the regulations will help more manufacturers come in, and we'll be back to the glory days of the 90s when we had 5 or 6 different manufacturers and loads of different drivers and cars involved in the mixing, point scoring, and for rally victories. So from the green perspective, it's probably not a great thing, but for the competition perspective, I've got my fingers crossed that it will bring back some proper competition to the WRC. There'll be a couple of manufacturers that maybe have had an eye on this for a little while. This has been rumbling on for 6 to 8 months that this might be going away, and now we've got it signed off by the FIA today in their World Motorsport Council meeting, which is easy for me to say, that they will now go, right, we can press the button on our potential WRC2 program, or WRC program, sorry. There's been much speculation about Subaru potentially coming back. That would absolutely light the fire under a lot of old school WRC fans to get Subaru back in the stages. So maybe that will be one of the dominoes that will now fall into place potentially for the championship. But we'll see what happens going forward, and of course we'll keep you up to date here on the Grid Network about any future plans for any future manufacturers coming in. Now let's hand over to Kobe much earlier in the show than we would normally for this weekend's news from around the world.
Thanks, Matt. And starting with our first story over here, Hendrick Motorsports will return to the NASCAR Xfinity Series this year with the number 17 HendrickCars.com Chevrolet. HMS will enter 10 Xfinity races featuring its 4 Cup Series drivers Kyle Larson, William Byron, Alex Bowman, and Chase Elliott. Byron will run 4 Xfinity races, starting with the Phoenix Spring Race, then continuing at the Darlington Spring Race, Pocono, and Watkins Glen. Larson will run 2 races at Coda in Chicago, while Elliott gets 2 races at Charlotte, and the Darlington Fall races. Bowman enters a single race at New Hampshire after failing to qualify for the Charlotte Roval race last year. The team is giving Boris Said another shot at a road course. He'll be in the number 17 at Sonoma, graphic courtesy of Hendrick Motorsports. And on a separate note, HendrickCars.com will now sponsor Spire Motorsports driver Roger Carew for the full Craftsman Truck Series season. It was previously announced that they would sponsor Carew's number 7 Chevrolet Silverado in 10 races. Now they've committed to every single race. Carew said it's special to have HendrickCars.com on his chest, and he's speechless that the relationship is being extended. XF2 driver Josh Mason will switch to Indy next this season. Mason will drive the number 21 Dallara for Able Motorsports. He won 3 races during the 2022 Euro Formula Open Championship season and ran a handful of F2 races during the second half of the 2023 season. Mason said he's looking forward to experiencing American racing culture, and he's most excited about trying out the corkscrew at Laguna Seca. Photo courtesy of Able Motorsports. Derek Kraus will make his NASCAR Cup Series debut this weekend at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Kraus will drive the number 16 Chevrolet for Colic Racing with sponsorship from Western States Flooring. He drove for Colic last year in 8 Xfinity races, earning 3 top 10s. Last year, he practiced and qualified the number 16 Colic Cup car at Richmond, while AJ Allmendinger was focusing on the Xfinity race at Road America. Kraus is scheduled to compete in a total of 6 Cup races this year. After Las Vegas, he'll run the spring races at Phoenix, Kansas, and Darlington, then Gateway and the Phoenix season finale. Photo courtesy of Colic Racing. On the other hand, Carson Kroppel will make his NASCAR Xfinity Series debut this spring at Martinsville Speedway. The 2-time Cars Tour late model stock champion is set to drive the number 88 Chevrolet for Junior Motorsports. Kroppel becomes the 5th driver in JRM history to graduate from the team's late model program to debut with them in Xfinity, joining the likes of Richard Boswell, Josh Berry, William Byron, and Sam Mayer. The son of Travis Kroppel said it's cool to make his Xfinity debut at the same track his dad made his Cup Series debut at in 2004. He has late model experience at Martinsville and hopes to use prior track time to his advantage as he gets up to speed with the Xfinity car, graphic courtesy of Junior Motorsports. And after an investigation was completed, Red Bull Racing Team Principal Christian Horner was cleared of wrongdoing following allegations of inappropriate behavior toward a female colleague. Horner denied the allegations while the investigation took place. Ford was very frustrated with the situation, which isn't a good thing since they plan to supply the Red Bull power unit starting in 2026 when the new regulations come online. Some call for Horner to step down from his role, while others believe this situation brought a negative light to F1 on the eve of the 2024 season. Horner plans to continue as the Red Bull F1 team principal instead of stepping down. And here's the official Red Bull statement, courtesy of Sky Sports F1. It says that the independent investigation into the allegations made against Mr. Horner is complete, and Red Bull can confirm that the grievance has been dismissed. The complainant has a right of appeal. Red Bull is confident that the investigation has been fair, rigorous, and impartial. The investigation report is confidential and contains the private information of the parties and third parties who assist in the investigation, and therefore we will not be commenting further. Out of respect for all concerned, Red Bull will continue striving to meet the highest workplace standards. Yeah, so that right there is I guess it's the end of what's been going on with Christian Horner for the last little bit. And now we're gonna move on to something more positive in the F1 world. Matt, take it away with Pick a Winner.
Yes, Pick a Winner is back, and F1 is back this weekend. There you can see, wrong way. There you can see the leaderboard, and it's a tie at the top between Matt B and Ben Schneider on 3 points. I finally got myself on the board with a Brock Feeney win in the Supercars race on Saturday. Many races still to pick from in the year. He says it's 178 points still available for Pick a Winner. So when the leader's on 3, you know there's plenty of chances still to score. You obviously realise that there's no Josh this week on the show. He's getting himself ready for a big weekend of broadcasting for F2, F3 and the Grand Prix as well over on his channel. We'll do that next week, but I'm sure we'll be breaking down some bits and pieces from the week. My Pick a Winner for the Bahrain Grand Prix on Saturday, don't forget. It's got to be Max Verstappen, hasn't it?
Yeah, I don't really see how you can go with anyone else but Max Verstappen. So I'm gonna keep the good times rolling and say Max Verstappen's gonna win the season opening Bahrain Grand Prix, because that Red Bull looks so strong right now, that already in testing, and I have no idea if anybody else can catch that team, because they've been rolling the last several years, and it looks like that Red Bull is going to be en route to potentially, another world championship this year. And I know last night, they had the Formula One roundtable, a lot of great discussion. Definitely encourage you to go check that out.
Yes.
I had a lot of fun listening to everyone who was on last night, sharing their opinions about the 2024 F1 season. So, Matt, since we have a little bit of time, I wanted to ask you this question about F1. Like, what are you looking forward to the most this season? Do you think we'll see any major surprise, or is it going to be as straightforward as Max Verstappen, just going out there and just dominating, winning all these races?
Well, before I answer, just a quick reminder that the Pick a Winner social post is up. Brandon has done the video for us this week. Don't forget to get your pick in for that and the Vegas Cup race on Sunday. And of course, the P7 F1 award is back for 2024. I've gone with Sonoda for that, by the way. Max Verstappen times 2-4, is that from Ben?
Yep.
So he's going with
the full
Max
suite
as well for the weekend. Absolutely. Is it going to be a cakewalk? Probably. I've been catching up on some podcasts from the test the last couple of days. And it sounds like, from what some of the journalists are thinking, that Ferrari are close and Red Bull weren't running at their full potential. Of course, no one was running at full potential. We'll only know on Friday. I was going to say Saturday then, but of course, Friday this weekend, when qualifying comes around, and we'll see how far Max and potentially Perez is ahead of everybody else. The only way I see Max not winning at the weekend is either by mechanical problem or in being harpooned at the first corner in some kind of shunt, potentially, which we've seen plenty of times at Bahrain over the years. So back-to-back Grand Prix, of course. We've got Jeddah coming up next week as well. So if Red Bull have got the advantage that everyone seems to think they might have, they need to put it into good use, much like they did last year, and then just cruise to the championship in the second half of the year.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the P7 thing for our pick one. I totally forgot about that. I know you picked Yuki Tsunoda for that, and I'm gonna go with his teammate. I think Daniel Ricciardo is gonna get P7. Yeah, so maybe get an extra pick a winner point there. But yeah, for 2024 F1 season, I think it's probably going to be another straightforward Max Verstappen cakewalk, another season of domination of people. Of people hoping that that the future regulations will increase the parity. Yeah, like you were saying, I expect Max Verstappen, to basically cruise through this season, maybe just as easy as it is last season. And the only way he's not going to win, like you say, there's a mechanical problem, or he gets taken out in a crash, or gets some crazy time penalty or something. I think otherwise, Verstappen is probably he's going to go out there and do what he's been doing the last few years, to completely dominate and destroy the competition. But hopefully we'll get some surprises along the ways, so we're not just talking about the Max Verstappen show.
Yeah, let's hope so. I'm sure there'll be much to debrief when Hots and Knots returns with Josh next week, potentially, when the whole team's back together, as we build up to Jeddah and MotoGP next weekend in Qatar, and IndyCar that weekend as well. So next weekend is very busy. So hopefully we'll have a few more stories and bits and pieces to talk about on the show next week, rather than it being a short, sharp one that we've had tonight.
Yeah, we're gonna get into the thick of the motorsports season. So we're gonna be very busy with multiple series to cover from here on out for many weeks. Leading down into late in the 2024 racing season. With that said, we're gonna take a look at our upcoming schedule. Saturday, don't miss our Grid Live pre-race. It'll most likely happen a little bit later than normal, because of the Formula One race that's going to be taking place, I believe, at 10 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday morning. Yeah, so different than waking up early on Sunday to watch the race. And then Sunday, Grid Live wrap up 90 minutes after the NASCAR Cup Series race at Las Vegas. And then Monday, another episode of Grid Live Encore, recapping the Truck and Xfinity races at Las Vegas, including the Formula 3 and Formula 2 season openers in Bahrain. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss some of our biggest shows. Thank you for helping us reach the milestone of 940 subscribers. Now help us get to the special number that every YouTube channel dreams of reaching, 1,000 subscribers. We're almost there. Help us take the checker flag on the road to 1,000. Hit the bell icon to get notifications for when we go on the air. Follow all of our social media platforms and visit gridranking.com. Take 5 minutes to invest in Grid Network through Patreon. Join Colin, Mark, Deschelle, Robin, David, and Matthew who invest each month in the Grid Network. We encourage you to join these fine folks who keep us on the air. Once we hit $500 per month, we can start sending our team to the track to cover more races and continue expanding our coverage. Link in the video description. If you want to do a one-time donation, click on the Buy Me a Coffee link, get your name on the board, and invest as much as you want. Consider buying a specific on-air personality a cup of coffee, and they'll thank you here in the air. You can also support us by donating during our live streams through Super Chat. On a very short night for us here on Grid tonight, for Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index, I'm Kobe Lambert. Thank you all for watching our short show. Hopefully it'll be longer next week. We'll see you next time. Have a great night.